Temperatures across the northwest still kind of cool. 74 in the Dow, 77 in Yakima, actually warmer on the east side, but 60s still here in the western valleys, 60 degrees in Seattle. It's going to be another cool night when you wake up here in Portland between 45 and 50 degrees.
K2 Weather every hour is brought to you by Teplic Laser Vision, your vision for the future.
On World News tonight, another big jump in insurance premiums. Employers are passing the cost on to you. The government has changed its mind about breaking up Microsoft. What will that mean? An important church leader who says Christianity has been vanquished. The state of Florida wants to stop people feeding sharks. It says people are part of the problem. And the first-year teachers, all that enthusiasm, and then they hit the wall. A filmmaker in the first person.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening, everyone. We're going to begin tonight with a new study from a big organization about a painful subject. The Kaiser Family Foundation, which does very intense research about health care, says that the average premium for a company-sponsored health care plan increased 11% this year. That is the largest increase in nearly a decade. And importantly, more and more companies are shifting the cost to their employees. ABC's Jackie Judd starts us off in Washington. Jackie?
Peter, in a recent 12-month period, the cost of insuring an individual increased by $286, and coverage for a family ballooned by almost $800 more. Microlog, a high-tech firm in Germantown, Maryland, offers health insurance to all of its full-time employees. Recently, the company had a strong jolt of sticker shock.
Last year, we got hit with a 40% increase, and the previous year, we got hit with a 30%.
Microlog was one of 1,900 companies surveyed by the Kaiser Family Foundation. Many of those firms have absorbed almost all of the increased costs, but now 44% say it is likely they will soon begin shifting more of the burden to their workers.
Employers offer coverage when they feel they have to in order to attract workers. When the economy is slowing, or for workers who are in less demand, coverage is inevitably going to be less available.
The reasons for the largest jump in 9 years include more prescription drugs are being used, and those drugs are more expensive, the high cost of new medical technology, and a continuing move away from lower-cost HMOs to pricier, less restrictive health plans. The insurance industry also blames lawmakers for pushing prices up by requiring employers to provide more and more benefits.
Government's appetite to increase mandates on employers of services they have to provide has not decreased at all.
Today's survey, Peter, also detected a trend that may alarm aging baby boomers. Fewer and fewer companies are now offering health insurance, including prescription drug coverage, to employees who retire.
Many thanks, Jackie. Jackie Judd in Washington. President Bush and the Mexican president have had another busy day talking to the U.S. about their ideas for immigration reform. Vicente Fox especially wants the United States to make it possible for more Mexicans to work here legally. Today, Mr. Fox spoke to the Congress, and then the two presidents went to Ohio. ABC's Terry Moran is still in Toledo. Terry.
Well, Peter, after all the policy questions and controversy these two presidents raised in Washington, the trip here to Toledo was surprisingly emotional.
A packed college field house echoed with both fight songs and mariachi music. The crowd of several thousand was made up of college students and migrant workers, white couples and Hispanic families. President Bush spoke directly to the anxieties and prejudices sparked by his immigration discussions with President Fox.
I know there are some in this world and our country who want to build walls between Mexico and the United States. I want to remind people, fearful people build walls. Confident people tear them down.
Then a remarkable scene in a city where the Hispanic population is rapidly rising. President Fox addressed the Mexicans in the audience in alternating Spanish and English, telling the migrants that he wanted them eventually to come home.
We need you back in Mexico, that we will be working to welcome all of you back in Mexico.
Earlier in Washington, Fox reminded a joint meeting of Congress of their own immigrant histories.
Many among you have a parent or a grandparent who came into this country as an immigrant from another land.
But many of those members of Congress were undoubtedly touched by that personal appeal. It will, Peter, need more than emotion for these two presidents to achieve their objectives.
Thank you, Terry. Terry Moran in Toledo tonight with the presidents. The national briefing tonight begins with the government versus Microsoft. The Justice Department says it will not seek to break up the company. This is basically what an appeals court ruled earlier this summer. The Bush administration, the courts in 18 states still agree that Microsoft is a monopoly, and there is still a lot to be resolved, including whether Microsoft can launch its newest operations system without penalties. The White House has apologized for a fireworks display last night in honor of the Mexican president. The White House didn't tell the public it was going to occur. Many people, either fearful or just upset, called 911 to complain. The Space Agency has a new unmanned plane designed to fight forest fires. It can circle a fire for 24 hours at a time. It is unmanned, and we said, and it can send back video images and other data on where a fire is and where it may be going. In Florida today, the state's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission has responded to all the attention about shark attacks, and there has been a lot of attention from some people. The commission wants to ban scuba diving expeditions that involve feeding sharks for pleasure and attraction. Here's ABC's Jeffrey Kaufman.
This is what the state of Florida wants to outlaw. For $40 a person, scuba divers and snorkelers get a front row seat undersea for what tour operators call interactive dives. They feed the sharks to bring them close to the people.
I said 2 nurse sharks and 2 barracudas and some other great fish.
If given final approval, the ban will close down 4 Florida operators who take an estimated 30,000 people a year on shark feeding tours.
It is conclusively proven with all other animal species that feeding animals greatly increases the risk of attack on human beings.
Florida officials felt pressured to do something.
Sharks staged hit-and-run attacks this weekend.
Some in the media have called this the summer of the sharks. It began in early July when a shark bit off this boy's arm. Then a man lost his leg in the Bahamas. And this past weekend, 2 deaths in North Carolina and Virginia. Statistically, this is still a typical year. Attacks on humans remain rare, and there has never been a serious attack during a feeding tour.
I just feel like we were used as an scapegoat.
Before the ban goes into effect, Florida will hold one more public hearing. But one tour operator says he thinks his shark feeding days are over. Jeffrey Kaufman, ABC News, Miami.
The overseas briefing tonight begins with an attempted assassination. The Palestinian Riyad al-Karmi knew that he was a marked man. He told us last month that he had killed Israelis. He knew he was on their hit list. Today, Israeli helicopters fired rockets at a car he was in. 2 people were killed, but Riyad al-Karmi escaped with a minor wound. In Northern Ireland today, Protestant extremists were still harassing Catholic school children. There were no rocks today, just air horns and whistles, but it was surely an assault on the children's senses. In Beijing today, 3 American pilots who fought for China against Japan in World War II attended the 60th anniversary of their unit's deployment. Many of you in the country will remember they were called the Flying Tigers. And in Iceland, the keepers of the killer whale Keiko said today he may never be free. Keiko, who starred in the film Free Willy, still cannot feed himself, and he has failed to stay with other whales at sea. In Britain today, there has been a startling admission from the head of the Catholic Church in England and Wales. The Archbishop of Westminster, the spiritual leader of more than 4 million Catholics, said that Christianity has almost been vanquished in Britain. ABC's Jim Wooten reports from London.
Cardinal O'Connor came very close to raising the white flag over his church with a candid concession that here in Britain, at least, Christianity is all but irrelevant. In its place, he said, this new faith, or perhaps this. an agnostic New Age quest for inner peace, or for others simply the hedonism of alcohol and drugs, or the passionate pursuit of material gain and affluence, especially among the young.
They're more likely to turn to their favourite pop group to let out stresses and things like that.
We're informed much more by like the media and other things around us than the church. And I don't think really the church has much of a place here.
And that, said the head of the Church of England today, that is now the challenge for his faith and others.
This is nothing for us to frighten us, worry us. Indeed, from my point of view, it's an exhilarating time to be alive and to be a Christian.
But there's no denying the numbers. Here and across Europe, most people say they still believe in God, sort of, but fewer than 10% of them are active in any faith at all these days.
Where church has become what happens on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock or whatever it is, and you're addressed by a man dressed in black, looking more like Darth Vader than anything else, 6 foot above contradiction, with no chance to ask any questions or to get involved, that is irrelevant.
And that, of course, was precisely the Cardinal's point. Jim Wooten, ABC News, London.
When we come back this evening, a question of safety. The passenger vans, so popular with churches and daycare centers, among others, they're arguing with the government about safety. A corporate titan gives up his crown. We'll take a closer look tonight at Jack Welch. And then trying to change the world in the classroom, a filmmaker in the first person.
Heartburn Hotel. If you suffer persistent heartburn 2 days a week or more, despite diet change and treatment, it may be acid reflux disease. Prescription Prevacid can mean 24-hour relief from acid reflux disease. Prevacid turns off tiny pumps that produce acid. It has a low occurrence of side effects, such as diarrhea, abdominal pain, and nausea. Ask your doctor if Prevacid is right for you.
So leave your heartburn behind!
Tens of thousands of people continue to purchase new Oldsmobiles. Is it because of our special cashback offers? Or the 5-year, 60,000-mile GM protection plan? Or did they simply take a test drive? Are you in the market? Get in an Oldsmobile, backed by GM. And for a limited time, qualified buyers can get 0.9% APR financing.
15 million people in America have type 2 diabetes, and my own grandmother lost her battle. If you have type 2 diabetes, it's more important than ever to watch what you eat and exercise regularly. And if that's not enough, ask your doctor about adding Avandia to your daily routine. Avandia is different from some diabetes medications. It helps your body use the natural insulin it's already making to help lower your blood sugar. With the addition of Avandia, a lot of people have been able to lower their blood sugar.
Avandia in combination with insulin may increase the risk of serious heart problems. Because of this, talk to your doctor before using Avandia and insulin together. Avandia may cause fluid retention or swelling, which could lead to or worsen heart failure. Avandia is not for everyone. If you have severe heart failure or active liver disease, Avandia is not recommended. Some people may experience weight gain with Avandia. Premenopausal women may be at increased risk of pregnancy. To check for serious liver problems, blood tests should be conducted before and during Avandia therapy.
Diet, exercise, and ask your doctor about adding Avandia. You can be stronger than diabetes.
Well, it's almost impossible to drive somewhere these days without seeing one of those 15-passenger vans on its way to somewhere. You see them carrying college teams, many church groups, and children. Earlier this year, the government said that they are potentially dangerous. ABC's Lisa Stark picks up the story.
Now, reports are as many as 13 people may have been injured.
This was just one in a string of accidents this summer involving the 15-seat passenger vans. The driver lost control. The van rolled over.
Seatbelts up.
Got it. There are nearly 1 million vans on the road, popular because they are cost-effective and can be driven without a special license.
The problem with the van, according to the government study, is the more passengers you add, the more top-heavy it becomes. The government warns that vans with 10 or more passengers are nearly 3 times as likely to roll over.
Dr. Riley Garrett co-authored the study.
you can't maneuver a lot at the last moment. If you're, you just can't do it. You're going to roll over on those vehicles.
This test, done for lawyers suing van manufacturers, used sandbags to simulate 12 passengers. This is what happened during a sharp turn at highway speeds. Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler insist the vans are safe if driven properly and if all passengers wear seatbelts. But those responsible for student transportation are not so sure.
We're seeing crashes of vans. We're seeing a lot of kids being injured and killed.
Universities and schools say they use the vans because they cannot always afford to charter buses.
I was ejected from the van and I flew about 50 feet. I was 50 feet away.
Rashad Shelton was severely injured, and 4 fellow athletes from Prairie View A&M died on the way to a college track meet.
I won't go on a trip with the track team in a van anymore because it's just terrifying to think what might take place.
The government intends to reissue its warning about these vans, worried the message has not gotten across. Lisa Stark, ABC News, Washington.
There is one item to take note of in the medical file tonight. Researchers at Harvard say that monkeys who were given an experimental AIDS vaccine have survived for more than 14 months after being given lethal doses of the virus. This is one of many AIDS vaccines being tested on animals and humans. Baseball player Barry Bonds of the San Francisco Giants has become the 5th player in baseball history to hit 60 home runs in a season. He joins Babe Ruth, Roger Maris, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa. When we come back, the man who ran one of the world's biggest companies. A closer look at Jack Welch.
World News Tonight with Peter Jennings and a closer look. Brought to you by Aflac. Without it, no insurance is complete.
Relax, we got supplemental insurance.
What are you talking about?
If we get injured and miss work, we're covered for things like lost pay and other expenses with this.
With what?
Plus, they pay you cash. Great, huh?
Who does?
Aflac. Without it, no insurance is complete.
Maalox Quick Dissolve challenges regular Tums. Who dissolves quicker? Maalox. Neutralizes more acid. Maalox. Has more calcium. Maalox. 3 ways the right choice is Maalox Quick Dissolve. Agree or it's free.
Attention citizens, do not pre-wash your dishes. Throw your scrubber away. You do not need to pre-wash your dishes. Sorry.
For years, we told you not to pre-wash your dishes. And for years, you thought we were crazy.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. But with twice the jets, the Maytag Jet Clean dishwasher works so well, you really don't have to pre-wash your dishes.
I am serious. You don't need these anymore. Son, give it a rest, will you?
The Maytag Jet Clean dishwasher.
You are a superhero to someone. So act like one and take a premium vitamin. Mega Men multivitamins, exclusively from General Nutrition Centers, with 39 premium ingredients for men, including things like saw palmetto, ginseng, and natural vitamin E. It's a formula no one else has, so it's more than just a multivitamin. Take care of yourself, superhero. Someone's watching you. GNC. Live well.
Be adventurous. Be plugged in. Be involved. Be powerful. Be yourself. Because it's your choice, your voice, and your attitude. Today's AARP.
I'm on an all-night flight when suddenly, terrible heartburn. The guy in the next seat says, try this, Zantac 75. Thanks, I say. Maybe I had to see a doctor about this heartburn. He says you just did.
Zantac 75, the heartburn relief doctors trust.
You saw these hearing-impaired parents hear their first sounds on Good Morning America. Now, watch as their daughter's world opens up in ways she never imagined. Tomorrow.
2-Minute Drill is back, Tuesdays at 7 p.m., hosted by Kenny Mayne. And now it's easier to play at home, but the questions are just as tough. Have you got the answer?
We're going to take a closer look tonight at one of the country's most successful corporate chieftains. Jack Welch of General Electric is retiring this week. He's as close to a rock star CEO as you ever get. His persona and his record are formidable. Under Mr. Welch, General Electric's stock price has soared more than 2,800%. Earnings for the company are up more than 670%. ABC's Andy Serwer sat down and had a talk with him yesterday.
In 1981, when Jack Welch, the son of a train conductor, became the CEO of General Electric, Thomas Edison's old light bulb company was a sleeping giant. Today, after 20 years of Welch, GE is a dominant player in finance, aerospace, and the media.
You gotta be competitive. Only competitive enterprises can satisfy employees and customers.
His fans, and he has many, call him a revolutionary. His biggest supporters think he's infallible. Doesn't that drive you crazy sometimes? Jack Welch can do no wrong.
Why would that drive me crazy? What are you, nuts? Why wouldn't I like that?
Welch's reputation wasn't always sterling. In the 1980s, he earned the nickname Neutron Jack for slashing the GE workforce by 100,000 people. Firing people.
Well, I wish you wouldn't use that. We're a non-competitive company that had to get competitive.
He certainly made GE efficient and profitable.
Hey, Neil, how are you?
He promoted the company at every opportunity. But was he also promoting Jack Welch? You do seem to care very much about your reputation in terms of how you're perceived in the media, which strikes me as kind of...
Who said that?
I do.
Okay.
I believe that that's true.
I think everyone cares about their reputation.
At the end of his career, Welch's reputation has been tarnished. He was tempted by one great last deal. GE's $45 billion takeover of Honeywell, which failed under pressure from European regulators. And Welch is still fighting the government, which demands that GE clean up toxic waste in the Hudson River, even though the company dumped it legally many years ago.
What are we going to settle? Who do I pay?
You could simply say that we're going to do what the EPA says.
Why should I do that?
He's a passionate man. Welch says he took a good company and made it great.
It's just a great thrill to make people see in themselves how much more they've got and give them the opportunity to get it without the shackles of bureaucracy sitting on them.
His retirement might not change the lives of everyday Americans, but the business world loses a colorful leader. Andy Serwer, ABC News, New York.
Last night on the broadcast, we invited your thoughts about immigration reform, and we appreciate the attention at abcnews.com from 60,000 people. There were many opinions. Several people wrote the movement to bring in more immigrants is just a ploy by corporations to get cheap labor, giving American jobs away. Someone said they have no problem with immigrants seeking a better life in the U.S., but they object to rewarding Mexicans who have violated immigration laws. An immigration lawyer said it was a tragedy to have Mexican workers here but force their families to stay in Mexico. And one person wrote, "We are a nation built by immigrants. Why should it be such a controversy to let Mexicans work here legally?" Thank you all. When we come back, the teachers and the filmmaker.
Scared about. Everyone's yelling and screaming, fix our schools. What I love people do is yell and scream and say, help our teachers. Become a teacher.
The long jump. The dash. Life is like a sport, and your feet take the impact hard. But new Stride Guard insoles absorb 50% more heel impact than these Dr. Scholl's. Take more impact in stride. New Stride Guard insoles.
I'm every man.
And every woman who ever suffered from frequent, persistent heartburn.
If you've treated your heartburn and changed your diet, but the pain comes back 2 or more days a week, then you may think you know about acid reflux disease.
But there's something about acid reflux that I didn't know.
Over time, that acid churning up can wear away the lining of your esophagus.
I didn't know.
I didn't know.
I didn't.
Now the makers of Prilosec introduced their new purple pill, Nexium. Just 1 prescription Nexium a day gives many people complete resolution of heartburn symptoms.
That could mean complete heartburn relief.
And Nexium is also proven to heal erosions in the esophagus caused by acid reflux. Only a doctor can determine if you have this damage. Other serious stomach conditions may still exist. The most common side effects of Nexium and Prilosec are headache, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So talk to your doctor and call this number for more information information and for a free trial certificate for Nexium.
Relieve the heartburn, heal the damage. It's possible with the new purple pill called Nexium.
These two women started scrubbing their bathtubs at the same time. The woman on the right used deeper penetrating scrubbing bubbles. The woman on the left is using Tilex. Be done with scum faster with scrubbing bubbles. They work even harder, so you don't have to.
The rules for making money have changed. Pinstripes, wingtips. That's not how it works anymore. Anybody can be the next big wheel, as long as they put their money in a better place. Welcome to the new Old Boys Club. Less old, less boys. Morgan Stanley, move your money, get well connected.
From the moment we met, I knew there was something I had to know. Wow! Why couldn't we get along? What seemed to go wrong? Let's give it a second chance.
Somebody had their Minute Maid this morning. It only takes a minute, but the feeling lasts all day.
I wish we could come through.
Next on K2 News, a teen driver is accused of killing 2 officers and injuring a third. Now his lawyer says all that might not merit a criminal trial. Last week they said they were doing fine. Now the operators at PGE Park say layoffs are in the works. And you heard of people breaking out of prison tonight. The former inmate caught breaking in. It's next on K2.
Tomorrow, when it comes to fashion, bigger is now better. Better for the bottom line, that is. Why the fashion industry is now focusing on larger women on World News Tonight.
Finally this evening, The Will to Change the World. The filmmaker Davis Guggenheim has just made a documentary about a group of people he thinks are making a huge contribution to the country with too darn little appreciation. It is about the call to be a teacher. So here is Mr. Guggenheim tonight in the first person.
I think for some of these kids, these teachers were the most important person in their life.
What did you learn?
My ABC.
Your ABC.
Charges.
And usually they're these larger-than-life characters. You don't believe they're human. You don't think they go to the bathroom. You don't think they get a paycheck.
And I am 22 years old.
That's why I wanted to make a film about first-year teachers. They come into the job with incredible idealism.
Woodlands, Indiana.
They want to change the world. And then they hit this wall, all of them.
Oh, man.
You know, the supplies aren't there. The hours are tough. Kids come up with discipline problems. They can't keep their classroom together. What's not surprising to anyone is that these schools are in trouble. What's surprising is that these guys are out there slugging it like heroes.
What are you angry at?
You see that they don't give up, and that's what reaches these kids.
And what can we do to help you fix it?
I want people to say, what I do every day at work doesn't compare to what this 21-year-old teacher does every day driving to school, helping these kids.
I'm gonna try to trick you on this one, okay? Yeah. You're good at this.
4, 5.
They're not asking for any attention. Their satisfaction is quiet, and their reward is quiet, and I wish I had what they have.
That is our report on World News Tonight. Later this evening, the season premiere primetime Thursday, the father of a boy who went on a shooting rampage at his high school. And don't forget Nightline as always. I'm Peter Jennings. I hope we'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.
This has been a presentation of ABC News. More Americans get their news from ABC News than from any other source.
Supermodel, her face and body on all the top fashion magazines. On the outside, Carrie Otis looks stunning, but inside...
It was horrific.
Now, dark secrets revealed and the truth about how she saved herself. ER's a repeat. Primetime's all new tonight.
Connecting you to your world. This is K2 News.
Good evening from K2. I'm Paul Lenman. Steve Dunn is off tonight. The attorney for the 19-year-old Salem driver involved in Tuesday's crash that killed 2 officers and critically injured another says his client fell asleep just before he ran off the road. KTU's Bob Hyde joins us live from Oregon State Police headquarters now with details on just what happened in the moments before the crash. Bob?
Well, Paul, in spite of the public shock and horror over that fatal crash, Jacob Todorico's attorney says what happened along Interstate 5 south of here Tuesday night does not amount to a crime. Jacob Todorico's attorney says it's this simple.
It is clear that he fell asleep.